What's going on, everybody? It's Eric from 3D Offroad, and the time has come to talk to you about how we fit 37s on my leveled 2016 Chevy Silverado. First of all, let's talk about the parts that we put on this truck. Now we have a set of 17-inch KMC wheels. Now these are a 0 offset, and that matters because the stock wheels that come on this truck are a positive 24. So that means this pushes the tires out a little bit, but not too much. It pushes them out about 1 inch from the factory, so not a ton of poke outside the fenders, and that really matters when you're trying to fit big tires. Now we went with the 0 because we didn't want to have a huge amount of poke outside the fender because that makes fitting larger tires more challenging. Reason being, the further you come outside of the fender, the more you interfere with the fender itself, rather than having that tire tuck inside the fender as you turn. So in doing it this way, you get less fender trimming, which is noticeable on the outside, and more internal trimming on the inner fender and the body mount. Next, we went with a set of Nitto tires. Of course, these are the Recon Grapplers in a true 37-1250. Suspension on this truck is a simple Bilstein setup with a 6112 coilover in the front and a 5160 reservoir shock in the rear. So this 6112 is a leveling coilover, which means it raises the truck up a little bit in the front. We went with 1.8 inches, which still kept some of that factory rake, but it did give us a little bit of lift to help fit these 37-inch tires. The rear is completely stock height. Now when you hit like a big compression in the road on the highway, or if you're on a dirt road and you're getting more flex out of the truck, it did contact the rear of the fender, so we did do a slight trim there. Other than that, bolt up the 37 and you're good to go. So previously we were running a 35-inch Nitto Grappler on this truck, and we did have to do what's called a NorCal Mod, which is basically on the back side of this inner fender. You cut a little bit of the pinch seam and you fold it over and you kind of massage it back. Pretty simple mod. A lot of people do them on these Chevys because of the square wheel wells. So what we had to do to fit these 37-inch tires on this leveled Silverado with the square wheel wells is we had to take that NorCal Mod and do what we like to call an extreme NorCal Mod. Now this involves actually cutting out the entire pinch seam, massaging it back with an air hammer, and then re-welding that pinch seam back together. This gave us enough room, just barely, to turn those 37-inch tires at full stuff and articulation, which was pretty cool. The next thing you have to do on top of that extreme NorCal Mod is you have to notch out the body mount. This is because at full turn, those tires do contact the body mount just on the edge, so you have to take about 2.5 inches out of that body mount. Now the last piece of the puzzle is the inner fender, that felt kind of inner lining that these Chevys have. You have to cut out the entire back of it and then self-tap kind of to hold it up into place. Now we are kind of trying to come up with some creative ways to kind of clean up the backside of that inner fender. For now, we just painted it all with Steel-It so it wouldn't rust, but stay tuned for that. We'll probably come out with some kind of cool inner fender solution for you. Now on the front side of the inner fender liner, you do have to cut that all the way up to the little support bracket that holds the fender on. Also, in the driver's side, the windshield wiper washer reservoir is up there. It does connect to that bracket, so you have to kind of massage and hammer that forward a little bit without breaking any of those bracket bolts that hold that reservoir in place. We are going to do the reservoir relocation kit on this soon because that really helps. You can kind of get rid of that whole bracketry up there without having to like massage it. You just kind of unbolt it and take it out, which would be a huge help. It increases all that space up there and you'll have no issues at all. But in the meantime, we just massaged it forward and kind of shifted that reservoir forward just enough to make it clear. Now, keep in mind, this is not a rock crawler. This is not an off-roader the way it sits. It is very tight. The clearances are minimal. And there is still a tiny bit of rubbing at very unique situations. You know, if I'm going a little bit too fast into a parking lot and I'm full lock, you know, it will kind of contact that inner fender liner a little bit in that bracket up front. We also are trying to combat some of the fitment issues that we're running into with some caster adjustments. Now we did kind of stand the caster up a little bit to try to position that wheel within the wheel well to turn it, which is unique. You know, it kind of makes the truck feel a little bit darty, so we're probably going to pull some of that back out a little bit so it's not so kind of wandery on the road. But again, it's all trial and error. We're just trying to figure out how to fit this big massive tire in this annoyingly square wheel well that the Chevys have on here. And we're realizing, you know, this is probably why not a lot of people do this. They lift it up 6 inches and you know, you get all the clearance in the world. But we wanted to be a little different and see if we could stuff a 37-inch tire on a leveled Silverado, and we've pretty much done that. We're pretty stoked on the way, or I should say I'm pretty stoked on the way this turned out. It is a pretty unique looking truck. You know, it's low to the ground, it's kind of thick and wide, and I kind of wanted it to look a little bit different than your normal kind of jack to the moon 37-inch tire lifted truck that you see all the time, you know. And I also didn't want to do a drop bracket because I hate the fact or the idea of cutting out the stock subframe of any truck. I just want to leave it factory under there, and you know, I just don't like cutting out big cross members in my personal truck. So kind of finding a way to massage and cut away a little bit of that inner fender was more appealing to me than drop bracket, sky jacket to the moon and fit 37s that way. Here at 3D Off-Road, we are all about finding solutions for what you want to do. If it's something you've never seen done before, we're up for the challenge. We have a full fab shop at our location, so we really can make whatever you want possible. You know, with a little bit of ingenuity and some time and some patience, there is a way to do things. So if you have a vision and you want to see it done, don't hesitate to give us a call and we'll help you out. Another few upgrades that we did to kind of round out the entire package to make sure this drove and performed the way that it should is my truck came with the stock 308 gears, which are terrible. They're like highway gears. They basically feel like you have no torque. Those had to go. We got a set of 456 gears from Revolution Gear and Axle. That really helps turn these 37-inch tires. A really cool fact about the gears that I wasn't quite aware of is that they truly do help with miles per gallon. If that's important to you, which I know, putting big tires on a truck, you're gonna lose miles per gallon, blah, blah, blah. It's all about miles per gallon, whatever. After driving this truck for about 1,000 miles with these new 456 gears from Revolution, I was stunned at the miles per gallon increase. Now I was getting about 14 miles per gallon on the stock gears with 35-inch tires. With these 37s and the 456s, I'm averaging 20 miles per gallon. That is insane. And what that really means from a dollars and cents standpoint is I drive about 30,000 miles per year, and that gas savings from 14 miles per gallon to 20 miles per gallon at an average, you know, $3.50 to $4 a gallon that gas is right now, that's about a $2,200 to $2,300 savings per year. That's just cash back in my pocket. So if you have bigger tires on your truck, or you're thinking about putting bigger tires on your truck or Jeep, re-gearing is something to consider for sure. You know, something that on my Toyota Tacoma that I had previously, I never re-geared, and I probably should have, knowing what I know now. So if you want to get your truck re-geared or your Jeep re-geared, hit us up at 3D Off-Road. We'd love to help you out. We'd love to put some money back in your pocket from a gas mileage standpoint. Not only is it good from a gas mileage standpoint, it really helps the longevity of your vehicle's drivetrain, helps your transmission from overheating, helps the shift points. If you're doing bigger tires, you definitely should consider re-gearing your truck or Jeep. The final piece of the puzzle that we did is we rebuilt the transmission. Now this truck has an 8L90 transmission, 8-speed transmission, and the Chevys are kind of known for being clunky and basically having those transmissions grenade themselves at about 100 to 120,000 miles. It's a known thing, look it up. You can read all about it on the forums, especially the 6 speeds, but even the 8 speeds in these are pretty bad. Mine was slipping between first and second, and I figured if I was gonna put bigger tires on it, it would probably just blow up one day. So we went ahead and rebuilt this transmission. When rebuilding the transmission, we also added a billet torque converter, which really improved the shifting and the drivability of this truck. It also is gonna help with the durability when trying to turn and run these 37-inch tires for those 30,000 miles a year that I drive. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. If you wanna do something crazy, or if you just wanna do something not so crazy, hit us up at 3D Off-Road. We'd love to build your truck or Jeep. And like I was saying before, if you have a wild idea, we can make it become a reality at 3D Off-Road. So like, subscribe, follow, do all the things, and we'll see you next time.